So yeah, I am officially, as of this point right now, I will never compete in strongman or heavy lifting or anything ever again. I will never. I am retired fully from competitive strongman whatsoever. Yeah.
Welcome to the Shaw Strength Podcast. I am your host, Brian Shaw, and today I am joined by my buddy, Mr. Robert Oberst. How you doing, man?
I am very happy to be here, B, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. So, Robert, for anybody that does not know, nickname American Monster, 9 times competed at World's Strongest
I think we tried to count. It's either 8 or 9.
8 or 9.
I think it might be 8.
Okay, so 8, but 2 finals for sure.
Yeah, 2 finals.
So you are an accomplished strongman competitor. You have done a multitude of different things, actually. Jumped into some acting. We obviously did the Strongest Man in History together.
Yeah.
A lot of different things, commercials.
Yeah.
So kind of a fun.
Get around a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You've had a fun existence, I feel like.
It's been fun. Yeah. Strongman's afforded me a lot of things. You know, I'm super grateful for, I guess, the platform of strongman. So it's definitely helped me find other things to do stuff, and I'm super excited about what I've accomplished as a strongman. But really, like I am way more grateful for all the other stuff that it's done for me outside of strongman.
Yeah,
it's been amazing. You know?
I mean, it's been a fun ride, bro. I mean, this is kind of how it plays out, you know, and kind of what you put in, what you take out. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes into performances and what you do on the competitive field, so to speak, and then what kind of spins off out of it. And we can go into all of that. But I feel like you had a fairly interesting childhood, you know, growing up. And we've talked about it, you know, a little bit and that type of thing. But I feel like that kind of shaped and molded you in several different ways. So speak about that. I don't want to go into a lot of detail there, but just, you know, kind of talk about what it was like for you growing up and you got kind of getting into football and taking that path.
Well, like childhood, I got started in athletics early. We were like American gypsies, basically. So we bounce around from here to there. Never lived any place for more than like a year and a half most, you know, sort of thing. And then I got started early with gymnastics, actually, when I was like 7 or 8. I started tumbling and all that stuff, and and then I was a basketball player and a hockey ball player.
Yeah.
Played a lot of hockey ball. I went from basketball to hockey to like everything football, but football lasted the longest, you know. I played football for a long time and then thought that was what I was going to do. You know, I really didn't even have a backup plan after football. I was just planning on being a baller.
Yeah.
And then when football was done with me, I fell into strongman. You know, I just got lucky, and a guy who I had known my whole life was obsessed with strongman, and he was just like begging me to come in, and went in day one. And I'd worked so hard in the gym for football that I was prepared for a lot of aspects of strongman. Certain stuff I was not ready for. You know, there was a lot of stuff that it took me a long time to like be able to do properly or even like safely. But like as far as like overhead press or moving events and stuff like that, like I was just took to it right away. Like I was literally, I had Googled strongman, and less than a year later I was at World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, for that, you know, going back and you mentioned a lot there, which is you did a great job of summarizing a lot of years in one little statement. But what was it like? Because you were, I would imagine, and I know this, a larger kid.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, like a big kid. And so you said that you're literally moving every couple years. So. Were you able to develop a lot of friendships and like growing up, or was that kind of like you're a loner, you're on your own?
We had a big family, so there was 10 siblings, but like 4 of my oldest siblings were way older, so they were out of the house by the time like I was making like memories, you know.
Yeah.
So it was mostly us just running around, but it was just like. I'm sorry, I kind of lost the question, but it was mostly us as far as making friends. Like, you know, here and there, of course, like we did like karate, and I had like a karate friend. Like we were bad kids, man. Like every example I can think of stuff I did to make friends was like tricking neighbors to go steal stuff from me and stuff. You know, like, when I was like 9 or 10, I would be like, yeah, no, everything at Walgreens is free. Just
go get this.
Yeah, make a list of something. I was a bad kid for a long time, so no, we had a big family too. So
okay. So you kind of had that at least support system
for sure. Always
going in.
Ton of support growing up. That was the one thing I had a lot of. Like we didn't have money or anything cool or anything like that, but like my mom always told me I could be whatever I wanted, and I truly believed her. And all my family just loved the hell out of me. So
yeah,
I think that's all it ever really takes, you know.
Yeah, well, that's family support is huge.
Huge.
Honestly, it's huge, and especially I can imagine for you being as big as you were. Because, I mean, you got to what size in high school?
I graduated high school, I was 375.
375 pounds in your height now?
Yeah, I think I was, I'm pretty sure I was close to the same or even like a half inch taller than before strongman.
Which is massive in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, in comparatively for me, the biggest I got to was just a touch under 300 pounds.
Really?
In high school.
Wow.
Right, so, it was maybe a little bit different. I obviously was gravitating towards basketball, so I wasn't actively trying to, maybe gain weight. And I didn't get into. I was trying to lift to play basketball, so I was running a lot more and all that. But it wasn't hard for me to get big, and I think that's kind of something that we had in common. Yeah. Because once I was done playing basketball, my weight skyrocketed. I mean, I don't remember weighing 300 pounds or 320. It's like it just bumped up
right to 4.
Yeah, it was like. I mean, I remember like I probably was a little bit above 350, and then it was kind of like, all right, now I have to eat a little bit more, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that I feel like gifted, and you were as well,
for sure.
With size and coming out of football, like you said, playing in college a little bit and doing that type of thing, getting into strongman. Do you feel like having that competitive background from football, you obviously said it built a base going into
for sure.
competitive strongman.
Yeah.
But what was that like? What did you learn from that?
It honestly probably started me too fast. Looking back at everything, like that first year, I was the only rookie in the finals in 2013, and like my legs were numb the entire like competition, like from the get go. I'd hurt myself at Giants Live like a week or 2 weeks before the show, before we flew to Sonya. And like the entire show from the flight on until I got home, my legs were numb basically the entire time. And it's like, I just, my body was not ready for that. And I had built such a base that like, switching everything from being like like heavy power cleans to explosive movements to like sprints and all that stuff from football to just like, like maximal deadlifts. I literally, the Giants Live show that we did, we were competing in some soccer arena outdoors. Like it was my first big show. The warm-up pull was 400 kilos. And I remember we had done the yoke in the grass with holes in the grass. It's a Giants Live show.
Yeah.
And after the yoke, I was like, you got to let us warm up, right? And he goes, well, aren't you warm from the yoke?
No, you got – and that's exactly right.
That's what it was in 2013.
The warm-ups were crap.
Yeah. But that literally was it. We started with 400 on the bar. Nobody, they don't do that anymore. But nobody got to touch under 400. Like literally, they had to walk it across an entire grass field, and they just put it straight down at 400.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, everybody else was there. It was a Giants Live show. Like everybody was there.
Yeah, this is something that's had to come a long way. I mean, even at World's Strongest Man for the longest time, literally. Not kidding. The only warm-up equipment was a bar, and they had the same weight plates, and they brought it to every location, and it was a bar and weights.
Right.
So you're doing a yoke, it's a bar and weights.
Right.
You're doing an overhead, it's a bar and weights, which works better for an overhead. But if you're getting ready to do finger fingers, bar and weights, right? And I had to fight. I had to fight really hard in several meetings to get that changed.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous. Yeah. It was a health and safety issue, and once you start throwing that around a little bit more, it gets changed. But you came. Actually, we met. Let's talk about when we first met, because you jumping into Worlds, and I love that. It's a good stage. But you came out. And I put on a contest here in Colorado, which you showed up, bro. And that was the first time, right? That was the first time we showed up, because you were, I think you messaged me, maybe asked a couple questions about the contest.
Probably.
Is that right?
Probably not even caring about the answer, just writing you.
Sure, just trying to message.
Yeah, well, like that's the other thing is I got into strongman. I dove into the deep end.
You did,
and I immediately I hit all of my goals in strongman that I ever set except for one, and that only other goal that I ever set that I never met was beating you.
Yeah,
that's the only goal out of every goal I've ever set. Swear, yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's the other reason I wanted to do a show. And it's obviously there's no disrespect in that. That's like the ultimate compliment.
I love honestly, and you're exactly right. I love hearing that.
Yeah. And so like when I saw that you were doing this amateur show, I was like, I have no idea if I could do any of this because it was brutal. The most brutal amateur show. You made it for real.
I made it for real. You know the crazy part with that is it was here in Colorado, and I think we truly ended up having only 3 competitors because everybody was scared of the weights.
Yeah.
Right. So everybody came in from out of town. Right. And there was a lot of good, solid competitors that showed up.
Yeah. With their tails tucked between their legs.
Yeah. But you walked in, man, and you did well. You did really well.
I got second place. The person who beat me the whole time, he was like, "Oh, this is my first time ever doing this. I've never done this." And I was like, "Oh, wow, yeah, me too." Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, it was like really like my first time." And he's like, "Yeah, me too." And then come to find out, he's been a professional circus strongman for like 15 years. Yeah.
He slow played you a little bit.
A little bit. But yeah, no,
it was fun, man. It was fun. But you could see, like, even for me at that time, I remember I had all you guys come to the gym, right, when I was training.
Yeah. And that was the best part of the whole thing.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And it's deadlifts,
you did deadlifts, yeah.
That was cool.
It was amazing. Yeah. That was for me, that was worth everything that we did. We drove so many horrible stories. We drove that from Santa Cruz, California to your show, which was like a 19-hour drive.
Wow.
And we stopped in Reno. We were like bumming on somebody's couch. And then it was like me and 2 buddies. And they had been trying to go pro for like 15 years, not that long, but
a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was my first show, really. And so like we all rolled up together, and then afterwards, literally immediately after your show ended, started the drive back and stopped in Reno. So like cramping, wrecked. My body was so destroyed after that show. Plus its elevation. Santa Cruz is below sea level. Yeah. Like I had never done that before. I had never done the elevation thing. I'd done the heat, but it wasn't hot here. It was nothing to do with heat. It was an elevation thing that I had never experienced before.
It's different. It's different. Gosh. It's very different walking in and trying to not really have time to acclimate, but then doing that. Honestly, getting in a car for 19 hours after that contest would not be fun.
Brutal.
Especially if you're crammed in there.
Yeah. We were all like the best of friends before the drive and then hated each other afterwards.
That's a relationship, friendship tester. Is what
that was it. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that was fun, man. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work to put that together, but it was like a lot of good people came to that. Yeah. And it made it special. Like I've heard so many stories of guys that either came or were there or whatever, that it was good. It was good.
I think that's the other big draw for it was all the top amateurs were going. And my immediate goal, once I got in, like everyone was like, that's the thing you got to shy away from is compliments. Like when I got in, everyone was like, "Oh, you can hit a 360 log on your first try." Oh, and I'm like, "Oh, that's great, but what's like the number 1 guy doing?" Yeah. That's literally my first response, and that was one of the big draws for your show. Is like, "Oh, you want to see what you do against the best guys where you're at?
Yep,
line up against them," and that's why I came, man, and it was perfect. Like that changed my trajectory and the way I focused and looked at things and everything, and like I paid so much attention, like. You have no idea, like the details and stuff. Like I was fully 100% in. Like I think I've said this to you before, but like I knew the kind of shoes you wore before I'd met you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Which is, breaking it down like that, and we have had that conversation before, and it's impressive, man. And it also is impressive. What I will say is the mentality of newer competitors getting into the sport has changed, I think, over the last decade. Right. And what I mean by that is when I got in, I did my first contest without training with equipment ever. right? I just walked into it, and then I did my next one the same way, and then I went to it was a pro-am when I was trying to come in, and then they kind of shifted
pros
it to
compete against
it was literally mixed together, right? So you're walking in, so you're literally doing
you did a big
weights.
one in Fresno in your early years. That
Yep.
so coming out of California, like that was what everyone talked about, was that show
Fresno,
you know, because I would train with some of those guys that were, you know, like the farmer boys that lined up against you and stuff. And I can't remember the guy who hosted it, but yeah, that was the thing. Like Travis had already like just established himself as the new thing, and then you showed up, and it was like, whoa, you know, like it was a giant. It was much talked about in the strongman world of California way back then. It was
man.
It's so funny, like how small that world was, you know.
Yeah,
it's so different now too. Like, and that's another thing with what you're saying is the way that people come into the sport now. Yeah. When I came in, everybody that I told about strongman like laughed at me or like you'll never. What are you doing that for? Like, you're gonna either hurt yourself or be broke or both. Like, there's nothing in it. And I think a lot of people still feel that way, and a lot of people feel that way about everything.
Yeah,
you want to be a lawyer, you know how much school that is, you know, whatever.
Oh, like, it's going to be hard. If the road is hard, people throw up an excuse
for sure.
Right? And the point, like, fair play to what you're saying with that. But what I was saying with you is the point that you made earlier was I'm coming out to this contest and I want to test myself against the best. I don't care where I want to see where I stack up, right?
Yeah.
Or what's the best guy doing? Right. Who am I going to beat?
Yeah.
And that mentality, that's what I'm saying. It's instead of, you know, having the mentality of, oh, the weights are too big, I might not be successful.
I'll stay the small pond.
Yeah. I want to jump in the big water, the big pond, you know, and swim and see if I can swim.
Up, man. That was my shit. Like, let's line it up.
Which is it's great. It's great, and you did that, and you know, coming in, like you said, you made it through that. And then you got the opportunity with Worlds in 2013, you know, and capitalized on it, man.
Yep.
You know, made the finals the first year, which was great.
Holy hell, like I can't remember how many points, but Thorn Laws were both like already established, strong dudes, and I showed up not even knowing what a Viking press was.
Sure.
Racked them.
Where do you think you're pressing strength?
That very much.
Like, where do you think that
training for
from?
the combine? Training for the combine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like
just doing bench.
I have a barrel chest already, and I never benched heavy. But like growing up watching Larry Allen, in my opinion, is the greatest football player of all time. And Warren Sapp and Larry Allen are debatable, you know.
Okay.
You go. But Larry Allen was just huge into pressing power being like what you needed for football. Like, he didn't give a crap about almost anything else but like pressing power. And like he would like drop the bar and catch it with like 6 plates on it. It was
that's
craziness. Crazy. He was a psychopath. Yeah. In the greatest like way. But so like I was obsessed with bench because of that, but I never really tested maximal. I would in high school, I was second team All-American, first team All-State on offense and defense. Yeah. And so like I got invited to the Nike Combine, and like that was my first time ever testing my bench. Yeah. And so like they invite you out, and all the top kids from America there. It's the Nike Combine, you know. And so the first thing you do is line up. At high school, it's 185. Yep. In the pros, it's 225. So you line up, and everyone's watching and lined up. And the funny thing was, the first time I ever did it, the day before the combine, we were like, oh, let's see where we're at. Let's test. Oh, my God. Wow. I had no guidance as a kid. That's one of my biggest stories, and why one of my biggest goals after being done with Strongman is to help other kids. But I didn't have any guidance. I didn't know you had to take the SATs to go to college. Oh, I'm second team All-American. I think my GPA was just like high 2s, low 3s. Good enough. Yeah. Good enough to go to college. Yeah. And I didn't even know you needed to take SATs. Wow. So anyways, anyway, that's all a bunch of other stuff. But
sure. So you tested your 185.
Tested my 185 the day before the Nike Combine.
That's crazy.
Then I showed up to the Nike Combine in tennis shoes, not realizing we're doing one-on-ones in the grass.
Wow.
And then did the bench contest literally after maxing the day before. broke the record for the bench still. Don't remember what I got. I don't remember. I remember what I got at the actual combine. I got 46. But at this combine, the high school one, I don't remember. But it was the record, and they put me on the cover of the brochure for the next year.
That's amazing.
And then did one-on-ones and beat the shit out of everybody in sneakers. I was wearing tennis shoes, and the coach was like, "Oh, the guy, I think he was from Tennessee. He was like, "Oh, you don't want to do that out here." I was like, "All right, well, let's
figure it out.
See what we do."
Yeah.
And then they had this kid, and I remember he was wearing a Tennessee shirt too, like 6'8", dreadlocks down to his back, like the middle of his back, tall, just jacked dude, looking like he came out of Florida, like one of these like IMG school, like ready to play D1 ball already.
Yeah.
Oh, and
worked him.
Yeah, bad.
Good.
Good. I learned really quickly how to line myself up properly, and like that's like 90% of ball, and plus like like I don't mean to be braggadocious, but I was all right.
No, man. Well, I mean. So when did you start lifting weights? Like to have
football. It was football.
So what age? What age? You remember?
High school. Like I literally was not going to go to high school. I was done. Like I played all these other sports and went to junior high. And in my house, nobody cared if I went to school or not. Wow. So like I didn't have a curfew. I didn't have any of these things. No rules in my house.
You just rolled.
And so I wasn't going to go to school. I wasn't going to. Why would I go to high school? Like I didn't care. And then a friend of mine that I'd gone to junior high with was like, "Man, just come play ball. Just please, we need you. Come play ball." And he wanted me to play tight end because I was huge, but I was fast and could catch. I got mad hands, some weird, crazy, good catching hands for some reason that I don't know where that came from. And so he was like, "Come play tight end. Come play tight end." And so I was like, all right, I guess I'll go to high school.
You talked me into it.
Yeah. So then I went to high school, and immediately they're like, "You're over 300 pounds as a freshman. You're playing center." Yeah. So went straight to center and nose guard, and figured it all out from there.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So that's where it kind of rolled from. So your pressing ability, other than building it up,
it's I'm built to be a presser.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm built for it.
Yeah.
Like my shoulder density, my chest like thickness, all that stuff, I'm built really well for that.
Well, I remember early on, I'm pretty confident you put out some big bench videos.
Huge. I used to bench heavy.
Yeah.
I used to bench in the high sixes.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you were doing
regularly.
I want to say it was maybe a 585 for reps.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of that. Yeah, I was a big, and a lot of people weren't benching back then too.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like a thing, like to show people like there is carryover. Like I can show that this for me. Like, and I never, even when I was benching 585 or whatever, like that to me, I never go over 90%. You know what I mean? Like I would never max out on a bench. Like I'm not a power lifter.
And then there's always, speaking to that, there's always kind of been this debate whether bench carries over to overhead for strongman or vice versa, right? And I've always kept some form of it in my training.
Yeah.
And I think it does have a carryover. And other people were like, "No, you shouldn't bench at all." And I thought that was silly, but it was interesting because some of your earliest stuff was huge benches.
Yeah.
And then you came in and were destroying pressing events. Right. So a
lot of my stuff was like everyone. I got so much flack for the way I trained early in my career because I didn't copy anyone's training. I copied everyone's results. I watched everyone at Worlds. I watched everyone at Giants. I bought 3 DVDs of, some freaking Swedish dubbed strongman videos and made sure I watched them 10 times. Like I studied the game. That's what you have to do. That's what that's why I learned that in football. So I knew the results, and then I took my own little path to get exactly what I saw.
Sure.
So like I would see that your first step was only 3 inches versus your second step was 6. Then 8, then it stayed at 8, and then I would copy that and then make sure that like, my body was prepared for it by training the way that I thought would fit me.
Yeah.
And
so through trial and error, basically.
And there was a lot of mistakes in it, but like, I also was way ahead of the game on a lot of stuff that a lot of people are doing now just regularly, especially when it came to overhead. Like I just took what I had been doing forever and then just added it and just to log and axle.
Do you think having that come so quickly early on was a good thing or bad thing? Because you said there was events where you fell down and were kind of had to push.
Yeah, it's both. It's definitely both. Because I think I settled all that for myself when I came back and made the finals late in my career. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like I came out and done it, and then like the other thing is, man, is like as crappy as it is to say it out loud a lot of times, like there's not a lot of motivation to keep going when there's no money, when there's your back's killing you, like you're trying to raise a child, like there's all this other stuff, and it's like I don't see myself burying myself under the bar tonight, you know. There's a lot of that, and everyone talks about that as if like you know, we're the people who motivate other people, but it's just a silly world to me, because I was almost never motivated after year 3, year 2.
But you obviously kept going though.
Yeah.
So you dealt with. I think you're mainly talking about like
I meant like
came from like
year two through year 8 or whatever, you know, 7. Like that was what that was. It was just like, I guess this is what I do now, you know, as best as I can without one foot in, one foot out sort of thing. Yeah. Like I wasn't going to put I wasn't willing to die for it anymore. Sure. You know, and that's honestly, that's also healthier. But when I got towards, you know, the year 7 and 8, and I was like just dealing with the question of what I could do, you know, because that was the other thing that was the big drive at the beginning was what can you do? I mean, if you can start here, like
well, the sky's the limit, right? You're thinking the sky's the limit. You should think that.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, like, I have an athletic confidence that more than I deserve, even though I'm good. Yeah. I'm happy it's more than I deserve, because that's what gets me into new things and makes me. I'm also not afraid if I screw something up and look stupid. Well, guess what? I'll get better at it real quick. Like, let's keep going. You know?
Well, and that was evident, man, for you coming through, and you know, I think that all of us, at some point in our career, like, you need to step back. And for me, it was always what I would try to do. You know, when anything would creep up like that, I'd say, look, man, why did you start this? Right? I started for fun. Yeah. Legitimately, 100%, hand on my heart, I can say that. I started for fun. And when I got into it, I was training just to get stronger, because I wanted to get stronger. It's fun. Right? So where I'm competitive. I want a competitive outlet. Fun for me. Right? I want to line up with somebody. I want to see who can lift more. Want to see who's faster with this weight, who can do this better, because it's fun for me. Yeah. So as you get into it and you kind of excel to the upper levels, you can walk away and be frustrated. And believe me, man, I've been frustrated a lot, like with different things, and not so much from the contest, but stuff outside the contest at points, right? Yeah. And it's tough to walk away from that and come back and be ready to rock and roll. Yeah. But then I would ask that question. That's what I had to do. I would step back and say, hey, can I still have fun? For me, like, I want to push me to have fun and get better. And that's what kept me through it all. I think it's kind of what kept me grounded. Yeah. Right. And also your like strongman story is like the pure, like if they were going to make a Christmas carol about strongman, it would be yours. Like, he loved it and he believed it in his whole heart. You know, like you love this sport. Like I think that's why most people are excited to do stuff with you, is because like you're like the purest love of the sport, like, and it goes back to beyond strongman. Like when we were doing the history show, you just love those guys, you know, and yeah, they're great. And I learned about them and I felt it, but it was like, for you, this is what you were built to do. You know what I mean? Like I can see that in you. So, So through your strongman careers.
Let me finish what I was saying. So so like when I got out of that kind of funk of just being over it or whatever, I wanted to check myself. Yeah. And I was going through a crazy part of my life, you know, and just everything was haywire. And I just, you know, it was one of those gut check things. It was like I hadn't really gut checked myself in like maybe half a decade, you know, and I used to do that on a daily basis. Yeah. And I was just like, I need this. So I took the entire year leading into 18 or 19 or whatever that was, and just dedicated myself completely. I would
18.
Walk.
18.
Yeah, I would walk and like literally, there was this, I was living in LA at the time, and I would walk like a 2-mile walk around this park, and then there's this super steep hill by my house.
Okay.
And I would sprint that hill every single day, like literally before I would eat, before I would do anything.
Just
first thing every day. And it would take me to do the whole thing. It would take, at first, it would take me like an hour and a half or whatever.
Yep.
And then I would do that 7 days a week for almost an entire year. I think it was like 10 months.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I would train after that, eat after that. I would do everything right. Like I committed completely, came back and had my best year ever at Worlds. Went into the finals actually like able to stand up.
Sure.
You know, like I felt better about that performance than anything else I'd ever put on camera ever.
Yeah.
So and the truth is once I did that, I was like, that was satisfactory. Like,
sure.
I was still, like I said, the only goal I didn't reach was I wanted to beat you, and I was still like in the chase for that. That's why I was coming for your show. Like I committed to that one, like I hadn't committed till anything except for 18, and I was like fully 100% in, ready to go. I was like, this is gonna be my last shot. Like, let's see at least where the chips are gonna fall.
Sure.
And so like, and plus like when I was training for your show, it felt like okay, like there's no BS. There's no fat. They're not going to trim the fat of this show. Who's got a strong grip and can move? Who can move this? Who's got the strongest legs? Who's got the strongest back? Who's got the strongest shoulders? Like it was so straightforward. If you want to know who the strongest man in the world is, this is like ... how you do it. It was pretty straightforward. And
I appreciate that, man.
And I think anybody else, people on the internet can feel however they feel. If you've ever lifted professionally or fed your family off the weights you put on your back, and you look at that stuff, I don't think there's any debate. So, but that's so like I was fully committed to that too, and then had family stuff happen and everything, so it just ended up not coming together.
Yeah, I was sad you didn't come to that too, man. I was excited, and
me too.
Things happen, and like you said, people don't realize outside of competition how much stuff goes on. Yeah. And like you said, and I don't necessarily want to go down that path too much, but you've been through a lot personally, right? And you know, you and I have talked about that. You've battled through a lot there, you know, and have come out, I feel like, better for it, right?
I think I have, yeah.
But you have to kind of bite the bullet, so to speak. Like at certain points, man, you gotta, like you said, at certain points, and you could see it. Like looking back, I could see, you know, a different competitor at certain points with you. Yeah. Right. And I feel like you're a guy that was maybe going through that. Maybe you're going through kind of a mental battle of whatever. But what I will say about you is when you did set a goal, and you were vocal about it, you would dial in and go hard
for sure.
Like, and that's something I will 100% say about you is like people can say whatever they want, man, but like when you were dialed in and going, you would go hard. Yeah.
And that's the other reason why I did that. Like you could always tell if I was committed or not. Like like when I'm in it, like I am wide-eyed, aggressive, like full, absolutely. Like, you know, there's a whole different side of me in that, you know. So
when you're having fun too, bro.
That's the other thing is I love doing that. I love doing that.
Yeah, you can tell your personality changes a little bit, and you're having a good time, and I feel like your confidence, well, all of our confidence grows when you know you're ready to do something. Yeah. But like when you're ready in particular, like you're
that comes from football. That comes from football. Growing up in a locker room, learning how to talk trash with a bunch of other dudes. You know, like
which is something you do well.
Yeah, right? I do. I am very good at that.
You enjoy that.
Yeah,
you enjoy that part of it, and you'd be around the whole crew of guys, and you'd kind of dive in on this, dive in on that, and then you could flip a switch very well.
Yeah. Well, I learned, that's the other thing is I learned my rookie year in Sonya that nobody talked trash. Nobody said anything.
Not a lot of guys did. I mean,
well, in 2013, nobody. Yeah. Like, yes, subtly, yes, but in a way, like they did it like subversively. Like they did it in like a sneaky little soft. In my opinion,
you were more vocal about it.
Yeah. Like I learned how to talk trash from watching like football players and boxers and other athletes. And so like when I was in like like it was almost like nobody else was ready for anyone to say anything ridiculous at all.
Sure.
Like it was Eastern Europeans, like very stone face, you know. You gotta admit this too, like you in 2013 versus you in 2022, total different person. You know, like you've loosened up a lot too, and I think all of us. I don't know. I can't think of really the reason why we all loosened up, but like our personalities kind of got a little less rigid. Sure, you know, like we were a lot more gruff back then. Yeah. Backstage World's Strongest Man 2013 versus Backstage World's Strongest Man 2021. Yeah. That's a lot different. Like there's a lot of playful like hoo now. Yeah. In 2013, I remember several times being like, oh, like fight time. Sure. Like he's ready to throw physical, like full on fights. Like I thought that was like the norm, you know? And it's changed a lot more.
I think, you know, for me, 13 was a tough one, and I think I have changed, man. Like for sure.
Well, you won 13,
right?
Like right here, babe.
Yeah,
you know, the year that you won this, I was the only rookie in the finals, and I walked over by the table and I rubbed this guy for good luck.
Yeah. You said something to me actually that trip. I
literally just. What did I say?
No, you said I walked in. So and going.
We got to talk about the trip to Sonia too.
Okay, yeah.
But go what you're saying.
This is part of it.
Oh, okay.
This is part of it. Okay. So we got stuck. You, me, and Burke. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yep. You, me, and Burke.
So we missed the connection. There wasn't enough room on the connection, and they sent every athlete through this little airport. So we had to go get a hotel room, right?
In the middle of nowhere, China.
Bro, we were screwed.
The craziest place, like driving into that place was the craziest China I've ever seen. I've been all through China.
Dude.
Like, that was wild.
It was ridiculous. Like 6 people on a motorcycle. Yeah. There's people.
I saw a kid peeing on another kid.
Yes, horrible.
You remember that? Nobody believes me about that story. Nobody believes me.
It was like, I'm going to use the word disgusting.
Disgusting.
But it was like, I think all of us were like, are you seeing this? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like, and you're looking over here and I'm looking over there, and it's like, well, I saw this over here. Did you see this over here?
Switch.
Is yours worse or mine worse?
Nobody ever believes me about that stuff. But what did I say? I want to know what I said to you.
So we stayed in this hot box, right? But we were in the airport, right? And I had gone through, and I've shared this before, right? I had probably the biggest up to down ever from 2011 into 2012. 2012 for me was a very rough year. And also, personally, strongman-wise, everything, right? And I was in kind of a hole going into 2013 and was fighting back from my hand not working and you know, my bicep in 2012, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So coming into 2013, I took that very seriously. I had put a lot of work into it. We were sitting in the airport, and we were kind of talking about how we were going to do, or I think you might have asked me point blank, right? Like, so this is my first one. Are you going to win?
Yeah.
I think you said something.
I'm always like that. Like I like to be straight up.
And I wavered a little bit in my answer. And I think that you sensed that. And you said to me, you're Brian Shaw. So just go be Brian Shaw and you're going to win. And it stuck. I remember that. Yeah. I remember that. And I was like, you know what? You're right, bro.
For sure.
Like, I put too much into this, and I was on the top of the mountain in 2011. I had a rough 2012. This is the proving grounds, and I need to just go be myself, right? Like, I need to do what I do and go do it. And I appreciated that. Yeah. I very much did, because I don't think you realize, like.
Well, I knew the thing is, I was going to be honest no matter what. Like I want to beat you, and I would have told you that right then. Yeah. I would have said that same fucking thing, right?
Of course,
or freaking thing, whatever. I would have said that same thing right then. Sure. But like, I'd watched that, because like that was like the you know, like I was obsessed at that point, and I think I'd watched every step you took there. at least 20 times. And I'm talking, I'm not saying every step like, ooh, like what, no, I mean literally like how big are your steps?
Right.
With
an event or
where do your fingers go? How far apart are they? Like all of that, like over and over, breaking it down. Over. And I knew you were the best. And I'll say this right now is like, I say this no matter who asks me, no matter where, there's only two people who can ever be in the debate for the strongest man in the history of the world. There's only two people who are okay to talk about in that. That's Z and that's you. Yeah. And in my opinion, it's you. I have a very strong opinion about it. I can understand people debating Z, that's fine. Yeah. But in my opinion, it's clearly you. And I knew that before you won 2013. I knew that before any of the other stuff before that. Like just from breaking it down. It was just so, it was like watching like, you know, like Tom Brady start playing as a rookie, and you're like, oh, I think this guy can do something, you know. Yeah. And you're like the guy who bets on Tom Brady early. Yeah. Like that was me, bro. Like I knew it. I was like, I'm gonna copy everything this guy does.
Well, I genuinely, honestly, man, I really do appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it means a lot, and like I don't think people realize because of the character that you are, right, and kind of persona that you have, how much detail you broke things down in, and you telling me the things that you have throughout your career and what we've talked about, different stuff. I know how much you break it down. So like when you're obsessed with something, for you, you break it down, you analyze it, you know every little part of it, and you don't almost don't let people know that you do that.
Definitely not.
Right? That was part of your game that kind of stayed a little bit more secret. Yeah. But you're like, oh, I think you might even said to me something about my shoes or something.
And I would mess with stuff too. Like I would put up a video that looked like I struggled with something that was a little bit eeasy for me. Yes. Like I was very meticulous about all that stuff, especially early in my career, because I looked at it and I was like, it almost seemed as if all the strongman athletes had never paid attention to what other successful athletes had done. And it just seemed like they kept in their own world and ignored everything else. Yeah. And coming from another sport, I was like, oh, like I just already have all of this data in here. Yeah. Like,
well, breaking down film, man.
Yeah, that's what I had done forever. 4 a.m. like all morning until 7 a.m. when you start your first class, like every day, and then after class for 3 more hours. You know, like that's how you get better at all that stuff, like over and over. And we didn't even have YouTube at the beginning of that. Like most of that stuff was like buying the DVDs and
or something. Exactly.
Rewind, you know?
I did it too, bro. Yeah. I bought the DVDs. I broke it down. I watched it again and again. It was the same thing. So I respected that. When you told me that, I was like, okay, I respect this. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. I also tried to be... I think it drives me nuts when somebody's at their first show and they're like, oh, I'm going to compete against you someday. Yeah. And it's like, it's cool. I get it. That's your goal. That's the thing. But I never said that. I never said that. Yeah. I was like, in my head, I never was going to like run over and be a fanboy. I was never going to be the challenger. I was never going to be any of that. You were going to acknowledge me before I said, yeah, I came here to fight you. Sure. Yeah. Yep. Like that's, you didn't know we were fighting because that's what I'm here for. No. You know, like that was my idea of what sports is.
100%. Yeah. 100%. And I mean, strongman wise, I feel like that moment in 2018 was a big one for you. I remember the emotion, right? Huge. Like making the final there and just, you know, ripping the shirt and you could see it, bro. Like I felt it. Yeah. I felt it.
It was huge. I had a lot of stuff going on in my life that I don't want to get into, but a lot. Like it was like one of the hardest points of my life. Yeah. And then like the week that I was flying out, I had moved to Texas and was living in someone else's house. I had rolled a pickup truck on the highway and just wrecked and messed my whole shoulder and everything. It was just I was being wild too. Like I was drinking and being crazy, but like I would train my ass off. I would do all my cardio and then I would not sleep. I would stay up and drink and I would like just avoid whatever I could, just like literally 3 hours of sleep a night and then just get up, take some pre-workout and let's go. Let's go. Yeah. And did that for like an entire year almost. Yeah. And it was like by the end when I was getting to Worlds, I felt like if Worlds would have been 2 months later, I would either like hurt myself or hurt somebody else or something. Like I was riding it so freaking close to the line, you know? Yeah. And that's the other thing is when you grow up like I grew up, like I do my best when I'm wild, man. Like it's so crazy. Like if I show up and like I have the mentality of like yeah, let's bleed. Like, oh, it's the best. Like it'll be my best performance no matter what we're doing. No, whether it's like talking, competing, lifting, drawing, whatever, throwing axes. Yeah, like it's crazy.
You're unique in that regard, man.
It's weird.
And everybody's. You're an individual, bro. Like that's what you need to be, and you got to own that. And I feel like you have, man. You're unapologetically yourself.
I'm happy with who it took me a long time for that too. Like especially when you grow up with nothing, you always feel embarrassed about yourself. Yeah. And then at a certain point, I was like, you know, let's go. I'm also cool with other people thinking that I'm weird too. Like it's also like that's an honest opinion, and like I'm 100% cool with all of that. Like
I know you are.
Yeah.
And you become more cool with it. You've owned it. Man. Yeah. Like you own it. And it's help. I feel like that's a great kind of segue into what you've done outside of Strongman. Because I feel like that aspect of you helped to open doors. Right.
Sure.
Like and again, you built a different following and fan base from that, the way that, you know, you would walk out there and be that character. Yeah, right? You own that, and I think that opened doors. And so, how did that for you? How did that spin off?
It started as like as a kid, I wanted to be a wrestler, like a WWF before it was WWE. Wrestler. And Hulk Hogan was my hero. Then it turned into Stone Cold Steve Austin and Goldberg and The Rock and all these guys. And so, like I had always kind of followed like that persona idea, you know, of like if you're gonna be an entertainer, make it entertaining. You know, like I loved those characters, those guys. Yep. So in Strongman, that's just I saw that was lagging. You know, like nobody was doing that, and so I just decided to do that with Strongman, thinking Strongman was my platform for what I wanted to do after. A lot of these guys get into Strongman. They give it their whole life, their body, their everything. They lose their marriage, their kids, their body. They're broke, and they got nothing. They walk away a decade later with nothing, like less than nothing. And I knew I wasn't going to allow myself to be that. Whatever I was going to do afterwards wasn't going to be that. And so I just, you know, made sure that I took steps to do other stuff. And like, the other thing is something like I don't talk about much in Strongman. I've talked about it in other stuff podcasts. I've done a lot of different things, but growing up, before like I was in football and everything, I was a drama geek or drama nerd or whatever. Like I was drama everything. Like I used to write plays, I used to perform plays and do musicals and all that stuff. I performed 2 Christmas plays like in my middle school, and then in junior high I got to write a play and perform a Jack Be Nimble thing and all this stuff like that. So I was obsessed with that. Like Phantom of the Opera, I used to watch that over and over and over. And that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be like in theater, but not like in movies or TV. I wanted to be like on the stage, like theatrical, like performance. And at the end of junior high, my junior high drama teacher made fun of me in front of the whole class and like made me feel like just ridiculous. And so I just quit drama right then, and then wasn't even going to go to high school, and then did football in high school, and that took off from there. And so
you kind of had an early love for
that was my I wrote like books and movies and plays.
That's interesting.
My mom's got like 3 ring binders full of all this stuff I wrote as a kid. And like we were dirt poor, but we had a video camera, and I would make all my brothers and sisters act out these parts that I wrote. Like I wrote a horror movie, I wrote a comedy. I did one, it was like The End of the World, but it was called Okra instead of Oprah, where I was Oprah in a dress, like interviewing all my brothers and sisters, and then the end of the world happened, and like we got chased through. We lived behind an apple orchard, so we got chased through the forest by monsters, all this stuff.
Man, that's
anyways,
crazy.
So like that was my first real love.
Yeah,
and getting down the road in my strongman career, I just decided to move to LA to see if I could act, and I was doing a little bit here and there. You know, I got a bunch of commercials and stuff, but in all the commercials, I wasn't acting. I was me. Like, I was literally myself in the commercial. And then that's fine, you know, like, and it pays the bills and it's great, but like that's not long term, not going to do anything for you. And so I moved out of LA, ended up in Idaho, and then just got this random message from my old agent. Was like, hey, what if we put you back on the thing? You know, like COVID kind of switched a lot of stuff up. Most people do their auditions over videotape now, so you don't really need to be in LA at the moment, so it's easy to do this. And so and then the first audition he sent me was for the Righteous Gemstones, and that first audition, I love the shows. It's on HBO, and I'm a huge fan of it. And so I was like, oh, I'll commit to this, and like got dressed up in the character's outfit that I thought the character would wear. Had this scene where a part of my body gets, I'm just going to say, injured. And so like I put ketchup on myself and played out that scene. Like I fully committed 100% to it. And like that next week they hit us up and they were like, yeah, you're in 100%. Like you've got this giant role on the #1 show since Game of Thrones came off. You know,
yeah,
like
it's a big show, man.
Huge.
It's a big show.
And it's a role, like it's not like a stand there and do nothing role. Like I have tons of lines and tons of work. I have like emotional scenes, and I have a big fight scene that I beat some ass in. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And then there's some other stuff, and then a lot of nudity. Definitely.
So you're now this is your first season with the show.
Yeah, first season with the show, and it's season 3. And it's on HBO. It's called The Righteous Gemstones. It's starring Danny McBride, Adam Devine, John Goodman, and Edie Patterson. And obviously just heavyweights in acting.
That's so cool,
like,
bro. I'm
insanity.
You had talked about this a little bit, but I'm genuinely happy for you, man, because that's a huge door. And, you know, I think for us, you know, kind of doing the Strongest Man in History, we all got to kind of experience that together and, you know, different commercials and, like you said, that type of thing. Those are more one-off things, whereas I think a lot of us thought the Strongest Man in History was going to roll into a multi-season thing and spin off and be really good, and it ended up being a 1-season thing, which was amazing, right? But, you know, kind of getting out of that, I think that for you, this sounds like an amazing opportunity, and you've only had good things to say about it. But with that being said, for your role, the time commitment is crazy.
Yeah,
bro. Like it's not. It's easy
insane
to make it sound like, oh, it's so good and whatever. But this is
it's
not a small commitment, man.
And like what you were saying earlier about how I get hyper focused, like I am like that right now with acting. Like I have watched movies I'd never heard of. I watch anything and everything just to pick stuff out of it, pick stuff apart. Anybody who's in our show, like, and the list is long of very big people in our show, I've watched anything they've put out, like at least once, probably multiple times,
just to study them,
study them, study what they're doing, study the way that it's filmed, study the way that they look. Like, what way do you face for the best camera angles versus like what's like what when someone's sad, do they tilt their head down a little bit? Their head doesn't come up. Like, there's certain things. Normal people, when they're talking, they use their hands a little bit more. There's little things you do with your face and stuff. Like, we all kind of have these little twitches and flicks and stuff that, like, if you watch a great actor, like if you watch like Christian Bale or Leo and all these, there's a zillion people, but if you watch somebody, you can pick all the stuff out of it, like that's just so real that you're like, oh, that's why I enjoy watching this person.
Interesting.
And so that's I've done that, like, I'll be up I've pulled all-nighters just watching movies that are just obscure, like insane, like dubbed weird stuff, like,
which is it's kind of crazy. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. You're breaking it down, but it's interesting for me to hear that you had that passion in your childhood.
Funny, right?
And then it kind of comes full circle where the door is kind of opened up, and you know, it's
I was taking ballet and figure skating when I did it. My sisters were you national figure skating champions, and I was on the hockey team. And so, like, for them to compete, I was playing ice hockey.
That's crazy.
And when they were competing, there was several times they needed a male partner, so I had to figure skate with them. So like it was just crazy, the types of different like backgrounds of things I was doing. Like, it was all over. And growing up, I mean, my dad worked a lot. My dad was Yeah, my dad worked a lot, and when he was around, he was he was a little bit of a rougher dude, you know, especially when I was younger. He got sweeter in his older age a little bit, but I basically was raised by my mom and my 4 sisters.
Okay.
And so like I can tell you every word of the movie Grease, like verbatim. Like
you probably watched that a few times.
I went dressed as a greaser to the theater, like the replaying of it, like the 10-year, 20-year anniversary or whatever.
That's crazy.
With all of my sisters in pom-pom skirts and all the poodle skirts and all that stuff. And so like that was it was so non-strength like focused at all.
No.
You know, it was just like all this girly, frilly stuff like ballet and figure skating. And
that's crazy, man. I mean, but to break it down like that, I mean, also you're putting the work in, but then that's just studying work. We're not talking about on set.
Right.
So on set, what is that like for you? Just so people understand.
Yeah, it can be wild, man, because it's HBO. The reason that the quality of show that comes out on HBO is so much better is because they put a big budget behind it, and that everyone understands that if you've got a great idea for a show and you want the most people to see it, you do it on HBO. Like that's the place to do it,
because they're going to dump the money in to make it.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it right, and when it comes out, that's why you've got all these. I don't even want to list them because there's so many top tier shows that are on HBO specifically, and so we'll be filming and it'll be like a dinner scene, right? So like it's just us having dinner. There's going to be an interaction here, interaction there, a disagreement. Someone's going to come in and that's it, right? Like it's just a simple scene. Yeah. And you'll have to hit that like for like 12 straight hours. You have to film it over and over and over for 12
one
straight.
scene.
Because the cameras will be set up from one angle.
And then
it's got to go through, and then the cameras have got to break, reset, change the lighting, different angle, and you've got to get each individual too. Like you also got to realize too, like you got to make sure Danny McBride's getting a shot, Adam Devine's getting a shot, John freaking Goodman's getting a shot, Edie Patterson's getting a shot, and then my dad Steve Zahn, and I'm like, there's a bunch of other names of people that you may or may not know, but like all these people are like A-list actors who are like all in this scene together. So like they're gonna get their individual shot for that person. Like
so, it takes a large amount of time.
It is insane how crazy. Like the filming, I've been filming since June. I won't stop filming till middle of December, and it's for one season.
Wow,
like that. There's no other thing being made right now that is filmed in that way. Like in the 90s, that was the normal. That was what everyone did because they had a big budget. They wanted to make these big blockbuster films that were going to blow up in the theater and then get rented and then get bought on DVD. Now it's like it's Apple, it's Amazon, it's Hulu, it's Netflix. It's all over the place. So like there's no like $10 million a day shows outside of these just giant productions for HBO. You know, it's like pretty much it.
That's crazy, man. I mean, I understand that, you know, because it's wild. It's wild, man. Yeah. It's wild. I mean, you're just the amount that goes into that. And, you know, I've been on some, you know, fairly big commercial shoots. And what goes into that, most people would never, ever realize, you know, like that. And, you know, different shows that we've done and that type of thing. But this is a whole nother level of money. And investment to make that work with big name actors as well. So, you know, it's cool, man. It's an awesome. So when does that come out?
Super
like
cool.
when
it'll be out in April.
Okay,
on HBO. Yeah, and I think people are gonna enjoy it, man.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny and it's done great, and I'm just really grateful for like the fact that I get to actually be a part of it. You know? Even let's say nothing else happens, right?
Sure.
Like let's say that's the last thing I get to do. I'd be stoked. Like,
that's cool, man. It's something that, especially once it comes out, it's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like you don't lose that.
I gotta wait a little bit to show my son, but
yeah,
because it's kind of, just so everyone knows, it's not a kid-friendly TV show. It is. Yeah. It's definitely an adult show, but it is hilarious. It is one of the best shows out there.
I feel like it fits you well, man. I mean, I think
totally right.
It's a spot that, I can only imagine, like with the studying you're saying you're doing, what you're putting into it. Like that's something that's cool.
And it's also nice too, because like everyone else is as committed as I am. So I'll just quote something by accident, like some ridiculous thing, and they'll be like, "Wait, you know what that is?" You know? And I'm like, yeah. Like I'm here for real. Like, I'm here to play.
That's cool, and I'm sure that impresses them as well.
Yeah, I've fully proven myself. Like, well, that's the great thing is like I came out in June, and it was kind of like walking on eggshells. Like, just make sure that like, is this big Neanderthal going to come in and ruin everything for everybody? And no, like it's been great, man. They've been awesome. And
that's
so,
cool.
Like, I'm super stoked. Yeah.
So I feel like there has been some questions, discussion, whatever, in the strongman world about what's next for you, right? Like, you know, and what's out there, what's coming in the future, you know, and with this, like, is this a different open door? And to be fair, this is actually something I've wondered myself, you know, because I think that, you know, it's at a point where I know that you've kind of probably debated a little bit yourself.
For sure, I had my eye on the exit for a little bit, and there was certain things I wanted to do. Like, I wanted another crack at you was like my last thing I was holding on to. Like, I just wanted another fucking swing. You know? And it just didn't come together. It just didn't. And you know, like, it does frustrate me. That's what sucks about looking back at it. Like, even whatever would have happened. I just wished I would have got another swing. Yeah. But I had my eye on the exit for a long time. It's been a couple years of me trying to figure out what I want to do, and my body just not cooperating with me fully anymore. You know, like it's just as soon as I get going here, something goes there, and it's always one way or another. So yeah, I am officially, as of this point right now, I will never compete in strongman or heavy lifting or anything ever again. I am retired fully from competitive strongman whatsoever. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I won't do any more ever. I'm closing the door because I don't want to, I can't be half in and half out. And I don't, if I trained, you know, what's crazy is I trained for like 2 years for what I thought was going to be my final show. And I just kept training, and it fell apart. And then like the stuff happened with my family, and it was just like, it just wasn't happening. And finally, like as soon as I eased off, my body started to like feel a bit better. I was like, like I need to be done. I'm too far into this. There's only so long you can look at the exit before you do something silly. You know?
Man, I was not expecting that answer, man. You know, I kind of figured you'd say, well, I'm going to finish this season of the show and we'll see what happens. You know, the typical kind of, I'm going to figure it out, but it sounds like you've been trying to figure it out for a minute, you know? Yeah.
And the truth is I can't, I'm not good at being half in, half out. Like it's like you even said, you can see it. Like there's no like, you know, they always say like tall, dark, and handsome, like mysterious or whatever. There's no mystery when it comes to me whatsoever. Like, like you know how I feel about you as soon as you look at me. Like I don't hide any of that, and that goes in with everything else I do. Like there's no way I can be like partially in. It just my body, my soul, everything rejects it.
Yeah, you know? And you have to be 100% in. Yeah, I will say that, and a lot of people may or may not understand that, but with high level strongman, you cannot not be fully committed. Yeah, right. You have to be in, and you know, for you, I understand, man. It's funny how you look back and you know, I'm sure for me it'll be the same way, right? Like it's like, well, another shot at this, another swing at this, another go here, and I wish this would have played a little bit different or whatever. I think anybody. There's a lot of 1 inches here, 1 inches there. You know, it's gonna be for anybody, especially if you made it to a high level, right? Like it's you know, if you've been on that stage, right, and you've been in the trenches, so to speak, to get there. That's how you're going to feel. And that's competitive nature.
I think I'm 2 points away from 3 more finals. you know.
That's frustrating. Yeah.
And stuff like that. But like the truth is those things, like that little, like that craw that sticks in you, like that's really what, as terrible as this sounds, like that's really like the best part of life. Like that's what gets me to go to the next thing, to be like, oh, I'm burying this thing and not worrying about that thing, and all those little scars and marks that you get along the way. Like that's so much better than any of the stuff I was thinking it was going to be, you know? So,
well, a lot of times the journey, man.
Yeah.
Right? Like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You go back and you look at it, and you have your great moments, and you have these things that you celebrate, or maybe that other people celebrate.
That's what I was going to say. That's what the funny thing is, I never celebrated my great moments. Other people were excited while I was frustrated because I could have done this or I should have done that. I remember Sonia in the pool. I'm the only freaking rookie in the finals. I had to Google the sport not even a year before.
Yeah.
I should have been happy. And I'm in the pool with my two closest friends at the time, and just like sour, just like frustrated, wanting to go home and wanting to train. And I was like that's who I still am.
Yeah.
But like that's exactly what I'm saying, is like those little craws, like those even I turned the winning points into bad moments too by being that way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately and fortunately.
Yeah. I understand. I get it, man, because even, you know, the crazy part is, for me, even sometimes different contests and whatever, when I won, I would literally break it down the same way if I won or lost. Yeah. Right. So I would analyze the moments, and I'd say, well, yep, I won, but this could have been better. That could so I was always kind of chasing the perfect contest. Yeah. Where I executed fully on everything, right? Everything. There wasn't one little bit that went different than I should have had. It should have, in my mind, right? Right. You play it out. And so those things, but you get so much out of the journey, bro. And I think with you, you know, it sounds like, and even talking to you more now, and from what I've known, you've had this journey that's up, that's down, challenge here, challenge there. You overcome this, you fight through that, you set this new goal, you go after it hard, and you make it or you don't make it, but it's like you learn something along the way, and you have these memories, man. And you know, it's very unique, like where you've gotten to, right, and where you're sitting right now, and it's cool, bro. Like I am 100% happy for you because of the opportunity that you've created. And you know, a lot of people go back and say, well, Oberst this, Oberst that. Well, you put yourself out there and you became a character. Yeah. Right? You live that character. Well,
also, I mean, that's funny, is like I do get talked about a lot more on as far as like the internet versus, or like the amateur level or whatever. I'm sorry for whoever's feelings get hurt by this, but I never gave a care. I never cared one iota about what someone who was weaker than me thought about what I was doing, ever. Not for a moment. Not even for like a hair of a second, ever. And all of those, I get a lot of flack, and it is because I put myself out there more. All those people haven't realized that, like, that's literally exactly what I was doing it for. Like I was talking trash to Eddie when we were building a show, which now everybody does, by the way. Literally, like everyone copied my blueprint for how to promote yourself in strongman. Like after me, like there's like you could throw a rock and not hit 4 strongmen that are doing word for word what I was doing 10 years ago, or 6 years, 7 years ago. So when I was doing that, I knew I was going to get a lot of hate, but I don't care where other people rank me in strongman at all. Like if you're on my list of like top whatever, then yeah, fine. Like, yeah, I care what you think. I care what our friends and our competitors think, the people who I've lined up and gone nose to nose with. Yeah, I care what they think. You know, and their opinions are much different than the opinions of people online. And I've purposefully made myself who I am as an online character versus who I am in real life. Like, it's two different things. I always knew that it was a different world in promotion versus like competition.
Well, and that's a fair thing to say, and I think it goes along the lines of, and I've said this before, I don't think you should take criticism from somebody that you wouldn't take advice from.
Yeah,
right.
That's so that's a great thing to say. Like, that's exactly how I was feeling and trying to articulate that in a clearer, cleaner way. Yep. That's what I'm saying right there.
Yep.
Like, if they couldn't come in the gym and give me tips, I don't give a fuck if you think I'm too mouthy for who I am, or
sure.
Oberst isn't this. Well, guess what? I've done more in this sport than almost anybody who's ever lived, and like, that's way more than I need from it. I'm more confident than I already deserve. Like, I didn't need to be like this or that to feel confident. I was confident before I was good, and guess what? I'm strong, so I'm more confident now.
Yeah. Well, you're like I said earlier in this, you're unapologetically yourself, man.
Yeah,
and that's cool. Yeah. It's cool. It's fine. It's like you got people talking about you. You got people to notice what you were doing, and that opened doors.
And we sold tickets, man. When Eddie and I did our back and forth, which, like, let's say for the record right now, we never talked about this on the record. People back and forth and all this other stuff. They want to know whether it was real, legit, and because now everybody's got beef. And I swear, like, it's like these guys watch Monday Night Raw and then go out there and say the same exact words right verbatim. There's no nuance or cleverness to it. But when we started, Eddie and I had legit like beef with each other.
I know.
It was legit.
Yeah.
And then him and I had a conversation where it was like it's silly. We're too old. It's silly. Like, let's let this go. And we did. We let it go. And we realized that, like, the fact that we didn't like each other actually made other people like watching us compete against each other more, which makes a ton of sense. Yeah. So we did it. But like, if I didn't like you, you would never see me post about you. You would never see me. I got in a fight at a Giants Live in a taxi cab with a competitor, like literally on the way to the Giants Live, fist fight, Magnus in the middle of us, like swinging craziness. And then that person thought that we should talk online about our beef. And I was like, you can eat 3 dicks and die, motherfucker. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm never going to say your name online. Yeah. You will never hear me say that person's name. I haven't said it now. Yeah. And it's by choice. People, there was a blueprint that was created there. And like, you did your own thing to show a certain way of doing it, which is like, if you were going to be the Willy Wonka of strongman, it's Brian's way, right? Like, you're fucking Bill Nye the Science Guy is what I really say. You are the Bill Nye of strongman. And like, if you wanted to do it a different way, like, the paths that we carved are being walked by many, many athletes right now. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And I'm super proud of that. And I hope that it gets bigger. I hope that the money gets better. I hope that athletes get taken care of better. I hope that one day, like, being the strongest man on the planet means everyone sees you as that, treats you as that, and you earn like your respect as that. Because strength in itself means more to me than strongman. Yeah. And to me, strength is not even measured in strongman in most cases.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, man. There's a lot of ways to show strength and you know, go out there and you know, put yourself on display to the world, and what you put out impacts a lot of different people, you know, and I think that's really important to realize as well. But man, crazy, buddy. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And
I was actually excited to kind of like announce it on here, you know, like it's been something I wanted to do for a while, and I'm stoked to do it here, man.
I mean, well, I appreciate you doing it, man. And, you know, I think that, you know, from myself and everybody, like, what you gave to the sport is appreciated. And I think that needs to be said.
I think you owe me like a celebration cake.
A cake?
Candles.
Okay.
A song.
A song?
A dance.
What kind of song?
I don't know. Happy retirement.
Robert Oberst. You're so cool.
Something like that. Yeah.
I'll make it up. I'll make the words up.
Wait till the cameras are rolling.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. No, that's great, buddy, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
It's been fun chasing you, man. I've been chasing you for a decade. It's been fun.
Yeah. it has been fun, man. It's gone by too dang quick, you know.
It's so wild to think that like I was in your garage watching you deadlift in 2000. Was that 12? Was that 11?
I think it was 11.
Oh wait, then all my timelines that I've set are off.
Off a little bit.
11.
I think we did that in 2011 and 12. The first one was 11 because
I think mine was 12.
12. Okay.
Yeah, it was like the middle of. I think
12 into 13.
I don't know.
It was right around there.
Yeah,
it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it meshes.
The timelines might be off by a few months here or there.
We'll just go in and edit the whole thing.
Yeah. James, get on there.
No, it's awesome, buddy. Awesome. So if you guys are not following Robert Oberst, please do find him on Instagram. Give him some love in different ways. He posts a lot of stuff on there. So do that. Do the things. If you could share the podcast, I would really appreciate it. It really, really helps to grow the show and, get more people watching and listening and spread the message, which is what that's all about. So if you guys could do that, that would be much appreciated. I hope you're all doing amazing. For now, go out and be great, and we'll check you guys later.
Thanks for having me, B.
Appreciate it, brother.